What's going on, Rebel family? So get into this live stream tonight. I do apologize for the tardiness here. Tonight's live stream, how can we resolve the diaspora wars? As you see on social media, there are diaspora wars going, breaking out all over social media. In particular, the main headquarters is Twitter. And, how can we resolve these issues between uh, those in the diaspora, the Africans in the diaspora, and try to come to some regard for each other and some have some grace for each other in regards with our plight and in this fight to end white supremacy, to better our communities, to free ourselves from oppression, so forth. Right? How can we do that? What can we do? What's going on here? And if you're not familiar with what's going on in terms of what are these diaspora wars, I'll kind of go through that here in just a second. But before we get to that, let me give a little bit of housekeeping here. So I do appreciate anybody pulling up to have the conversation. And it's been a while. It's been a month or so that I've been trying to get this done, this live stream. But um, with work, this is I don't know. The springtime seems to be a clients or customers or businesses like to refresh their computer equipment, networking equipment. There's a lot of projects happening at the beginning of the year. I guess that's just from the accounting perspective. The fiscal year begins or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So the nights that I chose to do this on Saturday, those are typical maintenance windows. Friday, Saturday nights from uh, pretty much midnight to the early morning, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, are the typical maintenance windows for large scale projects. Also, just had a lot of personal things in terms of anniversaries, birthdays, you name it, has happened in the past few months or whatever. So, the wife and I just celebrating the 19th uh, anniversary. So, shout out to her. But so doing those things, birthdays, and so forth. But anyway, that's enough of that. What I want to do is and the other thing, some announcements here, I guess. What's going to be happening on the channel? I'm going to try to do some things on the channel, do some things differently. I have a lot of videos that are waiting to be edited, and I'm going to try one Monday. What I'm going to do is some of the longer videos that I have, instead of editing those videos and uh, you know, kind of wasting time editing. I'm gonna just put up the raw video files into a live stream and quite possibly comment over those or just let them play out. It depends on how things work out. If I as I listen to the playback, if I feel that I missed something, then I will chime in. But I'm going to try to do that to get some of those videos out. uh, you know, some of the thoughts that I've had with certain current events that I haven't put out, because trying to edit those videos in terms of long form or standalone videos has been a little bit time consuming. So to get that information out there. So, but anyway, that's enough of that. So let's go ahead and jump into tonight's topic here. So these diaspora wars, and as you see on the thumbnail here, the main it's really I don't even know where to begin. It's a war of everything, really. Arguments about every topic, you name it, it's being argued. And who is it being argued? Who's doing the arguing? Well, primarily on you have in one corner, if you will, Black Americans, those who may call themselves ADOS, FBA. I think some call themselves Freedmen's, American Indians, they have a bunch of different titles that they are, classifying themselves against or with, excuse me. And then you have those who are from the continent of Africa. In particular, the main combatants, if you will, or the people who have really, I guess, stepped up are Nigerians. Why I have a Nigerian flag there. Nigerians and really Somalians from the continent of Africa. And then you have those in the Caribbean, and the main combatants or those who are arguing there are the Jamaicans. And again, they are arguing from about everything from who invented rap or who invented Afro beats or who they were arguing about Shakari Richardson versus Shelly Ann Frazier, or the sister from Jamaica, track events, you name it. They're arguing about it on social media, and the headquarters or the is in particular Twitter. So and but the thing that is being argued about mostly, some points that are being argued mostly, is about whether or not Black Americans have a culture. And well, that's one of the offshoots, I should say, one of the insults, I should say. But really it's about this has been a long time coming. Obviously, this hasn't started since the advent of social media. This has been going on a long time. We've seen these things happen for a long time here, and I couldn't do any justice to giving you the historical background. I'm gonna have a link in the description to the brother Omawali Africa's channel. He did a very excellent historical breakdown of that. So I'm not going to repeat that. I'll just send you over there because I couldn't do anywhere near the justice to give you historical context. Just know that this has been around for a very long time. As a matter of fact, some have placed it even around as long as between Marcus Garvey and W.B. Du Bois. But wherever it got started is where it got started, but we have it today. But some of the things that I see on social media are very disingenuous. I'm going to play some clips here. I have a lot of information. I don't want to bore anybody, but I do want to get to some things here, and to try to give more context. So let's get started here. First clip.
Immigrant who comes to the United States, whether
The first clip is Sharmila Sin. She wrote a book about immigrants and whiteness, and she kind of explains. She gives a pretty good description of um, how immigrants react when they get here in the United States. And this is something that we've seen for a while, and this is something that people have, accused immigrants of for a while here. So let's go ahead and jump into it.
surely any immigrant who comes to the United States, whether at the beginning of the 20th century or even at the beginning of the 21st century, comes here and realizes there is a racial hierarchy in this country. The top is white, and at the bottom is black. That is how it works in the United States. And the new immigrant, like any human being, wants to make sure that they're as far from the bottom of the pecking order as possible.
And she makes a very good point. So the immigrants that come here, they recognize how Black Americans are being treated here. And obviously you want to be near the power structure and not near those who are being oppressed or treated with such disdain. You want to get as far away from them as possible. We've seen this with so many groups that have come to the United States, whether it was the Irish or the Italians, before they were integrated into white society, they were considered outsiders in terms of not being classified as white, and to make their bones, or to make their mark to become white, they had to show their loyalty to to the dominant white society. That's why the Irish, when they became police officers, they were very brutal and very harsh to Black Americans, and obviously the Italians with organized crime again. It's have to be very we have to be very harsh and very hateful of Black Americans. We see that same thing with the Latin immigrants, the Hispanic or the Mexican or whatever. They have to be very to show their loyalty to whiteness. They have to be very hard to us, and unfortunately, we even see that amongst the Africans, or the Caribbeans, or just Africans in general who come here, the African immigrants, Caribbean immigrants, whatever. It's distanced themselves from us as well. So this is a very good intro to what is the issue, the underlying issue. And obviously we all know that this is divide and conquer by the white supremacists. So let's keep going.
In our quest for whiteness, often we're trying to say, we're not Black, we're not Black, we're not Black. That's what we're trying to tell the host country. I don't think Asians were always given the badge of honorary whiteness.
Okay, so and she's Indian. I couldn't find the full clip of that, but she's Indian, so she's speaking for Asians, and she understands that, okay, we weren't given the whole title of honorary white, in terms of not always being seen as white, but we have seen cases to where I forgot his name. He did the shooting in Virginia. He was considered white. I think he might have been a Hapa. The guy who plays John Wick, he's a Hapa also. He's Asian, but he's also I think one of his parents is white, but he's considered white. And the guy from that did the shooting in Virginia, I think the Virginia Tech shooter was he was considered white, even though he was Asian. So this is what we have here, and one of the biggest things that we saw in that really kind of got this thing really going on social media. Um, there's been a lot of misinformation, and then there's a lot of scapegoating, and one of the biggest scapegoats or excuse me, on social media, or for what's going on right now on social media, is Tariq Nasheed. And he is being used as a scapegoat, as if the problem started with him. Now, in my opinion, do I believe that Tariq is a agent of chaos? Yes, absolutely, 100%, because he is adding to the confusion. White supremacy works by keeping the victims confused. If they can't confuse the victims, then it's direct violence that they use. So they either use confusion or direct violence. So if you are adding to any of the confusion, then you are an agent of chaos. Now, do I think he's an agent in terms of some people calling him an agent like the FBI or whatever? No, I don't believe that. But agent of chaos, absolutely. Anybody that's adding to the chaos, absolutely, is an agent of chaos. So if you are in the midst of arguing and you are doing any of the arguing as well, then I believe the same for you, that you are an agent of chaos. And I don't care if you have Pan-African by your name, if you're sporting the red, black, and green, if you are arguing amongst the people, and the Pan-African is supposed to know better. if you are adding to that argument, then you are an agent of chaos. So I don't just put that on Tariq. I put that on anyone who um, is adding to the confusion. Now, one of the things that I see constantly is this narrative that Tariq only made this transition over to being anti-immigrant when he wanted to uh, grift. What is it? What is her name? Yvette Carnell. That you know he made this he made the transition when he wanted to siphon off some of Yvette Carnell's you know some of the people and start to grab money and grab some of the attention for himself or whatever. But people just to me just don't do enough research. um, I went back and I saw that Tariq Nasheed has been talking about not just it wasn't just Africans, it was all immigrants. And he's been talking about basically holding your own nuts since January 2017. That's when he did a podcast on it. And actually, I think I didn't go back and look for the tweets, but I believe he actually started it in 2016, talking about hold your own nuts, talking about all these other groups that come here, they have to hold their own nuts, and that Black Americans have to do for themselves, and Black Americans have no friends. And he did another podcast and the same thing, talking about DACA. And this was September 2017. And he has some other lectures. Tariq Nasheed, Black Americans are on their own, 2018, January 2018. This is well before we heard anything about ADOS and Yvette Carnell. I think she was around, but she didn't have the following that she had at this point. But you know, here is Tariq Nasheed, January 31st, 2018, talking about the Dreamers. Yes, he has a Mexican immigrant or looks Latin or Hispanic um, woman up here, but the Dreamer program benefits not just Hispanics, but it also benefits Africans or Caribbeans or whatever. So he's been talking about this for a while, and this is well before he did the 1804 documentary. The 1804 documentary, it finished the backing. The campaign finished February 8th, 2017. So he had been talking about hold your own nuts before he finished that campaign and made over $250,000 he was able to pull from the community. And people keep talking about that, and it's something that um people are going to just have to get they're going to have to wrap their brains around it, that okay, you can play semantics and say Tariq is not grassroots because he isn't part of any organization that has been that's tied to the Black freedom struggle or whatever. But he has a large backing of average everyday people, from not just the Black Americans but all across the world, and he was able to build that, right? So obviously the same thing here. Even 2021, even after the ADOS movement. And by the way, Jason Black did a very good. I'm not going to go back and for 3 or 4 years and look for the particular episode, but he did do a broadcast about that he proved, looking at statistics from YouTube to YouTube analytics and social media for Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore, from when Tariq first started speaking about them on his live streams or podcasts, how the number of views almost tripled from when before Tariq mentioned them, and then after Tariq mentioned them, and then when Tariq distances himself from them, how the views and so forth, and the analytics fell off. So Jason Black actually, the Black Authority, he actually went and proved that Tariq did give them a sizable bump because he has built a sizable following, and it just isn't from the Hidden Colors things. I think maybe it took off after that, but he did write books before, relationship books, and he did appear on relationship uh, relationship programs in the 90s or the late 90s, early 2000s, or whatever. So he's built this following, and I think that's why some people are upset with him, because he does have a large community following. And here's Hidden Colors 5, which was I think this is 2019. Let me see. No, 2018. It finished 2018 as well. Because he posted about it. So this is 2018. So in the midst of him saying Black Americans or telling other groups to hold their own nuts, and Black Americans have to do for self, and they're on their own, he was still able to garner a large following here, in terms of community support and raising a great deal of capital, which is, hats off to him. Now, unlike other people, I have no complaints with him doing this, because I look at the people who donate to Tariq Nasheed as individuals, grown adults who can think for themselves. It isn't a grift or a con if the people who donate feel that they have gotten mutual benefit. Meaning, just like someone says, you may not pay, what is it? I don't know, $300-$400 for a pair of Yeezys, but the people who buy it feel that they have benefited, that their money was worth spent on those Yeezys. So just like those who donate to anything that Tariq Nasheed has done, they feel that there is benefit in it for them, and they can afford to do it, so they do it. So I have no problem with that. I'm never going to say, hey, he's cheating the community. He's not cheating the community. If the people who usually say that are most likely people who didn't give, but the people who gave are not complaining. And he has a proven track record of delivering on the things that he states that he's going to deliver. So, hats off to him for being able to build that. Anyone else who's upset about that, then you have to get your weight up and build a platform, and get credibility, and build, your own following to match that. All this stuff about calling him a pimp and he's a grifter, none of that stuff is gonna stick. It's silly. It just shows how asinine some of the people are who, it's like all emotion in terms of, uh, you know, we're gonna take him down. It's not going to take him down. He's very credible in terms of what he promises to deliver. He does deliver. Even when people were trying to say that he didn't deliver on the More Us app. The More Us app was on the App Store. I think you can still find the page on. I think you can still find the page, in on Google search or whatever. And matter of fact, how about I just do it? Let's look at it. Let's look at it here. Let's look for it here. Is it on Apple? No, I don't even see it come up. So I guess they've taken it off. But nonetheless, let's see if we even see that. There was an app on here. Yeah, here it goes right here. So someone took a picture of it, that it was on the App Store. Let's see. Oh, it was Tariq himself. So we see the picture. It was on the App Store, or this looks like the Google Play Store. So, that, he did deliver on the app. It wasn't the greatest app or whatever, but the app was there. Yeah, here's it looks like other images of it. So he did deliver on it. And, you know, anyone who's complaining at this point, they're just gonna have to match that. That's the only way you're going to combat whatever you don't like he's doing. Then you have to build up your platform and your following, and then do what you feel he should be doing. There should be no, well, Tariq should do this with his following. No, he does. He put in the effort and the time to build it. Then, so if you're going to combat that, and then one other thing about me saying that Tariq, I think, is a agent of chaos, because he is adding to the chaos. He is adding to the confusion. He's always stated that he's petty. He states that he's petty, so he will get in the mud and argue and so forth. So he's being true to himself, because he's never denied that that's not who he is. So for people to act like at this point, well, he's doing something against his nature. No, he tells you quite clearly that is his nature. Okay, so we have a lot of insults that come our way from those in the diaspora, and I'm gonna play a few of them here, just to get a understanding of what we're seeing out here, and these are some of the things that's these are not new insults. These have been around for a while, but here we go. This one is about the other immigrants come here and outwork us.
That's all you motherfuckers do is cry, bro. That's all they do on fucking Twitter. Well, I'm really black because my parents were here in 1945 and they know Martin Luther King. Shut the fuck up. That's why foreigners come to this country and laugh at you niggas, bro. Real talk. Chinese people come to this fucking country. You know what they do? They open up a fucking Chinese food spot in the hood. The Indian people, they go open up a convenience store in the hood. The Arabs, they come into the United States. They go put a fucking liquor store in the hood, and them niggas can't even drink. They laughing at you, stupid fucks. Because you guys come into the store. Oh, hey son, let me get a pack of Hennessy. Yo, I only got 20 on me right now, bro. I know it's 50, but yo, do a hooker brother up. No, come back again with the money. They laugh at you niggas because you guys were born here with the opportunity, and they're making a killing off you stupid fucks because you guys speak English, born here, raised here, U.S. citizenship, and you're still a fucking loser. Going into a foreign nigga store, buying the fucking alcohol, crying and complaining about why you're not where you want to be, but you're drunk all the time off of fucking Hennessy. That's the truth in the black community. That's the fucking truth. You choose to be a fucking loser. Okay? And I don't want to hear nothing, because if I get pulled over by the police versus you get pulled over by the police, the only difference is that I'm not going to be a fucking retard. I know how to move. I'm going to tell him, how you doing, officer? I'm going to keep my fucking hands on the steering wheel. I'm not going to call him a fucking dirty pig and say this other stupid shit. I'm going to walk off with no ticket. Your dumb ass is going to get in trouble because you want to sit there arguing with the police and say, defund the police, fuck the police, yeah.
Okay, so that's some of the vitriol that we're seeing here, and it isn't just clowns like those guys. Who is that? Myron Gaines and Walter Meeks, or whatever his name is, Fresh and Fit podcast guys, whoever these guys are. Now, that sentiment is echoed not just from those guys being from, I think there's one is from the Caribbean, the other one is from Sudan, I think, or wherever they're from. Nonetheless, they're from, their parents are immigrants or whatever. They may be first generation, second generation, whatever they are. But we see that sentiment a lot that they're able to come over here and do what we can't do, like open up businesses and thrive and so forth and so on. So one of the pushbacks that, Tariq and some of the Black Americans who are engaging in this particular diaspora war is very valid question. Okay, if you're able to do that, then why don't you do it in your home country? And then the particular refrain has consistently been, as I've been watching this thing unfold, is that they are being sabotaged by their own government. And as if we can't be sabotaged by our own government, but they clearly state how they are sabotaged by their own government. And again, Tariq is petty, and so he in these Twitter spaces, and I'm going to talk about the Twitter space in just a second, but in some of the Twitter spaces and some of the online forums where a lot of this warring is taking place, he's gotten that retort back so much that he actually came up with this, and he plays this anytime someone starts with the, well, our government sabotages us. This is what he played. And again, his level of creative pettiness is on 1000. And sometimes it is hilarious, but for the most part, it is, again, it does cause it a confusion.
Good. I hope the middle of the week is good for you.
Nope, wrong clip. Sorry about that. Here we go.
It's the government. It's the government. It's the government. It's the government. The government. It's 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 the government.
Okay, so I mean, that kind of stuff is petty. It's kind of funny because when I first heard it, I was like, okay, this guy is crazy. But he did that because the refrain, as soon as someone says, hey, we can come over here and we're better educated, we do better economically, and then his retort is, well, why didn't you just do that in your own home country then? And then it was, well, it's the government. So he kind of did this, and it's like, again, that's Tariq. That's who he is, and he doesn't shy away from being petty. But this is where those in the diaspora are going to have that same. If you can see how your government is sabotaging you, then how in the world can you come here and to the United States and then look at Black Americans and look at their conditions, as the Dr. Sin said earlier, that you guys can see who's on top and who's on the bottom is when you get over here. You see the dynamic, you see the power dynamic, and then you get over here and you say, oh, well, we just do better than you guys and so forth. But your home country, those who look like you, who may be from your own tribe or ethnic group, they're sabotaging you. They're sabotaging you back in your own home countries. But this government can't sabotage Black Americans here. It makes no sense. And the thing to, people are using Tariq as so much of a scapegoat, because it's easy. It's more difficult to acknowledge your own failures, that we've allowed this to go on for a long time, and I'm speaking about those who claim to be Pan-African. Like I said, Brother Omawale is a Pan-African nationalist. This is where he states himself, and he's talked about the historical context of these wars, of these diaspora wars. So if he knows about it and he can clearly look up the history of it, other Pan-Africanists knew about it beforehand, and if you don't like what Tariq is doing, then you should have addressed the issue long before now. And that's a problem here. So I want to look at this. This is from the Bahamas, and they're talking about immigration because this thing got started. One of the biggest Twitter spaces happened about 5 months ago, back in, I think, January, so somewhere along those lines, January, February, can't remember exactly where, but it was not hosted by Tariq Nasheed, but it was hosted by another brother. Tariq Nasheed came into it, and this Twitter space lasted for like 16 hours, and it wound up having like 20,000 people in this live stream, or excuse me, in this Twitter space. And as a matter of fact, let me just show you here. I'm gonna just, how about I just play it a little bit or whatever. I'll just do that because to get the okay, so get past that right there. This is the Twitter space here. All right, so look at the title. How does immigration benefit Black Americans? That was the question being posed. And a lot of people misrepresented it and said that, oh, they only came at African immigrants or Caribbean immigrants, and that wasn't the case. The original question was, how does immigration benefit Black Americans? And no one could come into that space and say how immigration benefits Black Americans, because it doesn't. Immigration has always been used to undermine Black Americans. From the Ellis Island, immigration laws. The first immigration laws were to undermine those who just came out of slavery. Ellis Island. Then again in the 60s, 30s, whatever, the 90s. You name it, it's always been to undermine Black America, and it always has. And it isn't just about jobs, because I hear some people say that, well, we're taking your jobs. Well, come on. I mean, common sense will tell you if immigrants are not coming into this country, someone would have to fill the jobs that they are filling. The roles that immigrants are filling, somebody will have to fill it, and then that would usually be the bottom caste, which is Black Americans. So the Black Americans were filling the roles before immigrants got here. If there were no immigrants here, they would go back to filling those roles. It's just common sense. But I'm of the opinion that white supremacy is going to keep its victims moving. So it's going to have Africans or Caribbeans or whatever. They're going to have them moving from place to place. It's to cause confusion. If we can get you out of your home country, and we can send, as Chinese, we can go over here and start bringing our people into your countries in Africa or the Caribbean, but we're pushing you out to go to Europe, Canada, United States, or wherever, and it's about confusion. It's to playing musical chairs in a sense. So, I have no problem wherever we need to go and become successful or whatever, do that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that Black Americans can still do, despite whatever the white supremacists are doing with immigration. I'm going to play some of this and let you kind of hear what Tariq's philosophy was in terms of this live stream. And it was, the hosts are this brother named Mel and this brother named Sonny. They're from they kind of do this group called Secure the Tribe or whatever, and they're the ones that kind of started it. But Tariq, he's the biggest name in there, and people thought it was his space, and it wasn't his space.
And they have this mentality where they want to.
Okay, let's just start here. Whatever. I want to play this music, but.
The anti-FBA energy comes from older people from the diaspora. So these are typical tropes that are somewhat dismissive. And if we're going to have a real honest conversation, we're going to have to be real and understand that a lot of people who come from the diaspora, not all, because we do have some brothers and sisters who are riders, but unfortunately, we do have a lot of older and younger folks, let's be clear, who come over and they have this mentality where they want to undermine foundational Black Americans. And a lot of that is seeped in their own xenophobia and a lot of jealousy and a lot of taught vitriol. They can't just pawn that on the older people from the African diaspora and the Caribbean, because if you look at TikTok, that's Sambo Bedwench Central right now. You have a lot of these folks on here who can't wait to get up under white mommy and white daddy to show out and do things to undermine us. So that's a problem. And foundational Black Americans are just now finally calling that out en masse. We don't have a reason as foundational Black Americans to be xenophobic towards anybody in the diaspora, because we know how you're living over there. There's nothing to be upset with you about. In fact, we're the only people who are consistently trying to help brothers and sisters in the African and the Caribbean diaspora. We as foundational Black Americans, we are the only ones who've been stumping and trying to fight for brothers and sisters to get over here to act as reinforcement with us. We're going to have to really get that narrative straight, that there is some kind of war going on. This is a one-sided hatred thing coming from so many people in the diaspora. We have no reason to hate on you. The only reason Black folks from the diaspora are here is 100% because of foundational Black Americans. We were the only ones in the 1960s and 70s campaigning to get brothers and sisters over here. White people did not want you over here. They had a zero immigration policy for many Black countries. It was very rare for Black people from the diaspora to get over here. We were the ones stumping for that. We were the ones talking about our brothers and sisters globally. We've been holding that mantle for a long time, and it's been very one-sided. When we start going over there to the motherland and in the Caribbean, we're not getting that same type of energy. Nobody's giving us dual citizenship, and I have a very big problem with that. I've been all over Africa, damn near begging for dual citizenship, and nobody's biting on that. We're going to have to keep it 100. There's been this one-sided Pan-Africanism, and we're the only ones holding up that light. Now, if we're going to have a real conversation and we want to find some solutions, it's time for brothers and sisters in the diaspora to step their game up and start saying, hey, we want to bring something to the table, tangible, for foundational Black Americans. Now, let's hear some feedback on that from those from the diaspora.
Okay. All right. Anybody want to rebuttal?
Okay, so that's kind of where one of Tariq's stances, and that's one of the things that I guess he gets pushback on, in terms of saying there's a one-sided Pan-African movement, that, you know, it's just been one-sided, that Black Americans have been the main ones kind of pushing Pan-Africanism and, you know, so forth or whatever. And that's, so he gets pushed back on that, and he gets pushed back on the you know, people are coming over here to undermine us. And I don't think they're necessarily all immigrants, or excuse me, let me say African immigrants from Africa, or the, you know, continent of Africa or the Caribbean, are coming over specifically to undermine us. I do believe, honestly, that the majority of them are coming over just to, you know, make a better life for themselves. I truly believe that, because, you know, just like us, they're being oppressed in their home countries. White supremacy is global. So that's honestly what I believe. Now, are there some that come over here to undermine us specifically? Sure, of course. There's always going to be that element. I don't necessarily believe it's the majority. But do they do exactly what Dr. Sin said, Sharmila Sin said, that they see the power dynamic and they want to be close to the power? I believe that the majority do that. And unfortunately, that is a form of undermining us, because either we're all trying to get power together or we're not. It can't be, okay, this group over here is trying to get power for themselves. You know, that's never going to work. But I want to play something about the Pan-Africanist, you know, statement that he made, and he gets pushed back from that. But, you know, there's a Pan-African professor, Professor James Small. He said something very similar, but, you know, Tariq gets the pushback because it's Tariq. But, you know, let me just play it here.
You know, you had the brothers from Trinidad, and then you had W.B. Du Bois, and we created this phenomena. But Africa has never created a Pan-African movement. You understand? Africa has never really supported a Pan-African movement. We had a couple of people in Nkrumah and Julius Nyerere and Mugabe, but most of Africa never gave a damn about a Pan-Africanism, because they're still bogged down in the colonial slavery of European Judeo-Christian indoctrination, which is worse than anything that we've suffered. Worse than anything that we've suffered. The illusion of the clothes and the language make us think we're dealing with somebody that has some African purity culturally and spiritually. You're dealing with a confused, backwards Christian that love Europe more than they love their own ancestors. They would not even use an African word for God. You know, in Ghana, if you talk about being a traditional African, you might get beat down in the street. You understand? You're ostracized on the radio. Movies are made to show African culture as being the devil, while Christian culture is coming in as the savior. This is TV shows and on TV in Nigeria and Ghana every day. What we have to realize, because our brothers deafblind and you know,
Africa,
this is the deal.
Everybody else romanticize it, but you dropping the real thing right here. Oh yeah, Rock be dropping the real stuff too. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, brother.
Okay, so here it is here. So there it is there. He said something very similar, that there was no Pan-Africanist movement in Africa. He doesn't get the same pushback. You know, there's no outcry that he's wrong. You know, there's none of that kind of talk, you know, in that regard. Also, the other big thing that they're arguing about is that what Black Americans choose to call themselves. You know, do we call ourselves the African Americans, Black Americans? You know, there's other terms: foundational Black Americans, FBA, ADOS, American descendants of slavery. What else is there? American Indians, freedmen. There's quite a few, you know, and I don't particularly use any of those terms. You know, I'm still until something comes along that's better, I'm still using the Black American term. You know, I haven't adopted anything else. I did not adopt African American. I do understand that African American has been around since 1782, but we didn't call ourselves that back then. People are trying to argue that now, that, oh well, we've been calling ourselves African American since 1782. That's silly, when we know that there were other terms after 1782 that Black Americans were calling themselves: colored, Negro, Afro-American, Black American. And we know Jesse Jackson started the African American, or he reintroduced it, I should say, because someone else called Black Americans African Americans back in 1782. Jesse Jackson he popularized that thing in the late 80s. We all know this is not a thing, but anyway, I don't understand why somebody will argue with somebody about what that person chooses to call themselves. If someone chooses to call themselves an American Indian, why am I going to argue with it? And this is one of the problems that I have with the people that call themselves Pan-African. They are they're, as much as they want to call Tariq Nasheed agent of chaos, they are as well, because they'll get on Twitter and argue with someone about what that person chooses to call themselves. I mean, that's the dumbest thing ever. That's the biggest waste of time ever. Instead of working to build a platform that could rival Tariq, what do? You get on Twitter and argue with someone about calling themselves an American Indian. I mean, it's absolute. They were just arguing about Juneteenth. They were arguing about the colors of Juneteenth, whether Juneteenth was red, black, and green, or red, white, and blue. I mean, of the dumbest thing. The white supremacists already have co-opted Juneteenth. It's going to be whatever they want it to be at this point. It's silly to sit up here and argue about something that you no longer have control of. Because however they want to market Juneteenth at this point, moving forward, hell, if they want to choose purple, red, and hell, if they want to choose, you know what I think is going to happen, actually, since it's in the month of June, and that's the Gay Pride Month. I won't be surprised if Juneteenth start seeing the rainbow colors at this point. Moving forward, 20 years, 30 years from now, it'll be tied right along in with the pride stuff. And then you got, and again, like I said, and I'm those you Pan-African and you arguing too, you're part of the chaos. But let me play this here again. Here are some brothers who I don't see people arguing with. This is why it's silly to argue when you got stuff like this being said. Uh, you know, because someone else argue with somebody about what their lineage is. Someone may have Native American in their ancestry. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to argue with anybody about what someone's lineage is. I don't know.
And you know, some of the Hebrews make the same claim that we are Hebrews, we not African. What do you say to that? Those people look just like me and you, brother.
But
okay, see, if someone says that, okay, just say okay and go about your business. Why am I going to argue with someone who says I'm not African? I mean, it's the dumbest thing ever. Like, I do not get the mindset of those even who call themselves Pan-African, because they do it. They will argue with a person up and down about, and then get so emotional and then start calling them names. Oh, you're just dumb. You're this. You're that. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be the enlightened one? I mean, why are you going to argue with someone like that? There's a saying in Islam. This scholar said, every time he argues with a scholar, he wins. Every time he argues with a fool, he loses. He loses the argument. He said when he argues with the scholar, he just gives him the proof. And the scholar, being a scholar, he recognizes the proof. Okay, you're right. When he argues with the fool doesn't know the proof, so he just keeps arguing. So I'm like, why would I argue with someone who says that? For one, if you believe that, okay, no problem. I mean, do you really want to work with that person anyway? I mean, it's weird to me sometimes.
And they fighting against us.
On the brothers and sisters. So when I stop with those who say they're Hebrew, I say, okay, I can't do nothing about that, but you can. Go to the El Al airline counter, buy a ticket, go to the promised land that was given to you, and let me take this land for myself. And then me and you'll find a way to partner. And that ends the argument between me and you.
Right.
And for those who call themselves Native American, I am Native American. I don't talk about that much, but at least one half of my genealogy, come from the Chicora Nation.
Okay, now, if Professor Small is saying that, am I going to argue against him saying that? No. Hell, if it's another person on Twitter, I don't know. I don't know what he's saying is true or not, but it doesn't matter. All I need to know is, can I work with him in building the community, building the things that we need in the community, and keep it pushing? Why am I going to argue with him? No, you're not. You're not Indian. It's silly.
Which is a large part of what the people who the white man call the Creek Indians, with his stupid self, because our people live along the creeks of South Carolina and North Carolina. He called us the Creek.
Now, so, I know you got Indian in your family too, though, Professor.
But that's what I'm saying. 50% of my genes. I used to tend and clean my people's grave in the mounds in South Carolina. We did that once a year. But we didn't say that because people ridiculed you if you said you were Indian. Because
you see what he said? People ridicule you if you say you're Indian. Why? When he clearly knows his ancestry. It's insane. So again, I'm accusing all around, not just those who are, the Nigerians or the Africans or the Caribbeans, the Jamaicans, the Black Americans, the ADOS, the FBA, Freedmen, American. I'm all Pan-Africanists as well. If you're arguing, you're contributing to the chaos. You are an agent of chaos as well. It's silly to argue.
Who are the first Americans? The real indigenous people are who? And so, first of all, Brother Kaba, let me ask you, talk about your background. I know you got some native in you, brother. Let's start there.
Yeah, well, in terms of the information that I've received from my family members, my mother is from Boston, Massachusetts, and she carries 3 nations in her. The Onondaga, the Narragansett, and the Oneida. And my father is from Alabama, Marion, Alabama, to be exact, and he carries the Choctaw and the Cherokee. And so I've always been familiar with my indigenous American background. And I've also been very fluent in my African American, being named Booker Taliaferro Coleman Jr. You know, that Dr. Clark, when he first met me when I was 12 and a half, he said, "Oh, Booker T, you're going to be a great teacher one day." And
Okay. So why are we arguing with people who call themselves that? They may or may not know, but what is the point of arguing with them? And I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna try to get through these clips. It's already an hour in, and I'm gonna play this too. I'm gonna with the reparations thing, and this. I'm gonna play this again because there is a delineation, or at least there was when, others came here to the United States from Africa or the Caribbean or wherever, and our brother Malcolm X talks about that.
Problem that stems from slavery. And this compensation, this compensation is coming to people who were enslaved by the white man for 400 years. The Puerto Ricans don't even fit into this picture.
Well, they do fit into it.
No,
they do fit into it.
The problem is the Negro problem. They're not lynching Puerto Ricans.
If a dark-skinned Puerto Rican went down to Mississippi, he probably would be lynched too.
Spanish, he wouldn't be lynched.
No, they don't.
It's the Negro here, and as long as he can speak Spanish or some other language, or if he ties his head up with a turban or something, he can go anywhere in Mississippi or in your home that he desires.
You're not aware of the fact, are you, that African students have been arrested in our demonstrations in the South?
When they
speak French.
When they have been mistaken for the so-called Negro in America, they've been arrested.
Okay, so he's making the point. During Jim Crow, I forgot there was a surfer, very dark-skinned surfer. He wasn't African American. He wanted to go into a swimming pool, and he was being refused to go into the pool. And then they said, "Oh no, well, this is so and so. He's, I think he might have been Indian or no. He was native Hawaiian. He was native Hawaiian." And then they thought he was a Black American, so the segregation laws, the Jim Crow laws, they applied to him when they thought he was Black American, but when they found out he wasn't a Black American, okay, they don't apply to you. And there were other incidents of that happening with Africans, and the brother Malcolm X is speaking about that. And here, this in the Bahamas, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Bahamas now. African countries are locking down their borders and talking about immigration, but then it's just the African American or the Black American or those who are FBA or ADOS or whatever. It's just them who's out of line and out of pocket and out of their minds or whatever. But the same thing is happening in the Bahamas.
Strongly to the remarks made by the ambassador, His Excellency Antonio Rodriguez was critical of the implementation of the new immigration policy. Arla Dawn Davis took to the streets today to gather some of the feedback made from those controversial comments.
While the public outcry on the Haitian ambassador's comments continue to mount even on social media, Immigration Department officials continue to spread the message that if you are not legally living or working here in the Bahamas, you must return to your homeland.
In our country, we are doing them a favor, right? And by doing them a favor, they're supposed to humble.
They need to go back where they're from, and they're too biggity. The Haitians have their country, the Bahamians have their country, and it is our country, and we could decide how we want to run our affair.
Take a little bit too long. From they burn the Bahamian flag, they're supposed to be deported out here.
How our government could give them privilege to have Flag Day in the Bahamas? On top of that, they've actually disfigured our flag by burning it. They also had parades for their various leaders in the Bahamas.
When most of them come here, they've already gotten everything free. I mean, and some of them are they owned restaurants and fruit stands and all of this stuff. Why not have them pay their own ticket back?
When you come into this country legal, then you have your children, they born here illegal. You understand? It becomes now a burden on the country that they exist in.
Additionally, there are many Bahamians who feel that governments of the day took far too long to deal with this immigration problem, which has enabled illegal migrants to feel that they are more than equal in this country.
Okay, So that's it. So they're talking about immigration policies in their country, and here it is just the Black Americans who get the bad rap, and some of the things that some of the other things that we see in terms of what's going on here. I'm going to play this. These are just some of the biggest things that we have or that we've seen. Black Americans don't have culture, they're not educated, they don't have any drive, they're lazy. um the Akata word is being thrown around, and it'll be played off, oh well, it only means stray cat. Well, the Nigerians that are born in America, they would be called Akata and so forth, and it's 100% a derogatory in the way it's being used. You don't even have to know the context or what it exactly means. Just seeing the way it is used, it is a derogatory comment for Black Americans. But I'm going to play this here, and this is just these are just some of the issues that we're seeing, and it's too frequent, and for that room to get 20,000 people in it again, when it was only talking about immigration, and then the hit dog that hollers, when you throw a rock into a pack of dogs, the one that's hit is the one that hollers. And it was primarily like the Nigerians that I saw, I'll put it this way, that I saw in the room that wanted to speak on whether or not immigration benefits Black Americans. But then they didn't answer the question, and it turned into pretty much an argument and a fight of why they are so much better than us, and so forth. And that's kind of really was the trigger point in the last 6 or 7 months. But anyway,
mom basically made a comment about my weight, and that was like super hurtful. She just like met me, and like she felt some type of way because I was African American and not African, first of all, and second of all, she basically made a comment that I was like big, and I was like, damn, okay. But she made that comment, and that was like super hurtful.
All right, I'm gonna play another one here. These are just some of the that represent some of the talking points that we see here.
And I came over here, and I've said this. So I was born in Jamaica, and I came over here, and I've said this a few times, and the Black community hates it. Now there's like a popular guy who his name is Tariq Nasheed. He's kind of like almost created like different categories in the Black community,
idiot.
which is he's like foundational Black Americans, because it's one of those things where I remember saying, well, when I came over here, like we literally had nothing, and I had to work to get everything I had. I'm like, a lot of people who were here before me had more advantages, and apparently they look at me and they're like, well, you don't know what slavery did to me, and it's
You're
one of
right.
those things, and I'm like, you know what?
You're right.
Yeah, got it.
They
Like,
hate it. Why are African immigrants who are coming from way poorer countries more successful in America than Black Americans are?
They usually
Who are
try to
the
tell me
most-
go back, and I'm like, no,
who are
I'm not
the
going
most
back.
successful?
I'm good.
Who are the most successful Black people in America? Caribbean Americans, Nigerian Americans.
Mhm.
Okay, go look at their culture. Go into their households and see in Nigeria.
What do you think is the difference? Because like I've invited even Tariq Nasheed to have a conversation about it, not because I'm just saying, nah, fuck whatever you're trying to say. I want to get to understand, because he's like Caribbean immigrants like myself. We've came and taken advantage of something they've like worked hard for.
How many excuses can we come up
I feel like this like ungrateful at that point.
How many excuses can we continue to come up for and keep trying to blame slavery about?
3 days later.
Guess who I did an interview with?
Oh man. Hey, listen, this guy couldn't pull up here any quicker. He heard his name mentioned once. Came in here with the non-FBA stuff.
So I had to come in and get some curry goat up out of this brother right here. But y'all, Monday, the interview comes out. Y'all do not want to miss this. This is going to be a hot one, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so that's it here. I'm gonna add this last thing, and then I'm gonna talk solutions, because I don't see any solutions coming from anybody on any side of how this thing can be repaired at some point. And it isn't just learn about your history and so forth. That at this point, it's too far gone for that. The Pan-Africans of 20, 30, 40 years ago should have been doing that. And, you know, in terms of not just speaking to, because what I've seen in my experience, what I've seen is in particular is Black Americans being preached to, and that's it. But, you know, what do I know? I don't know. That's just my experience. Hold on, let me do this here. All right, let me see if I can play this audio here and see if this works. I want you to hear this.
Somebody with culture. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, you. I don't. No, you. I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't do American.
Oh, wait. Before they get into it, I want to. A couple of janky wig Caribbean women said FBA don't have a culture. Then they said FBA's only got their freedom because of Haiti. And when pressed to elaborate, they just went into nonsensical tether babbling. Shout out to these brothers for checking them on that. And see, that's part of the Agent of Chaos thing. Calling immigrants or whatever tethers. That is the biggest thing about the Agent of Chaos aspect of what Tariq is doing. And again, he states that Dr. Francis Cress Welsing is one of his mentors, and that he really respects the work that Neely Fuller talks about. Both of them talked about the 10 basic stops. One of them is not name calling. You know, go figure. Anyway, let's get to it here. I want to make this bigger. Yeah, I guess so. All right, here we go.
I need somebody with culture. I'm sorry.
Black Americans got culture. Americans got culture.
Keep rolling. I need somebody with culture.
Americans don't have culture.
I got culture.
We got the culture. We are the culture.
Yeah. Who the culture?
We are the culture. Globally, they know about Black Americans.
No, hold on. We not
globally, they know about Black Americans.
But you gotta remember 1804, baby. I'm the one that won
American. We're not gonna use the word American.
Yeah, Black Americans.
I ain't gonna hold
That's fine, but listen, 1804, I'm the reason why you have your independence.
That's the part I hate about
Haitians was the
Caribbean
first
people, though.
free independent country, first Black free independent.
That ain't got nothing to do with. That don't got nothing to do with America.
That's nice. I'm just letting you know the reason why y'all have your independence.
Y'all coming over here because of us, because of the hard work that Black Americans do.
You know, Haiti is like in debt for $1 trillion years because
you know why? Because the French owe us how much?
So y'all got your independence for what?
What?
Wait, when you say Haiti's the reason Americans got their independence, what do you mean by that?
How they gonna cook me for that?
What do you?
I mean, she wasn't totally wrong. I mean, we know the Haitian Revolution inspired some of the revolts and so forth here in the United States. Not saying that there weren't revolts before then, or you know, some of the African slaves here revolting and fighting back or whatever. But we do know that it did inspire some of the revolts. So she wasn't totally off. And we do know that what happened in Haiti was the direct result of, you know, Napoleon having to sell the Louisiana Purchase and all that kind of stuff. So it nearly doubled the size of the United States. So the United States benefited from the Haitians whooping up on Napoleon. So, I mean, you know, I get it, but her saying we don't have a culture, all culture is, you know, what you eat, what you drink, how you speak, dress, those things form culture. Things that basically what Neely Fuller's definition of what culture is whatever you're doing in the moment. That's culture. I mean, so what are we drinking, eating? You know, eating the foods that we eat, the dress that we wear, how we speak, the music that we listen to and make and produce or whatever, you know, those types of things. It's all culture, language, whatever.
Learn your history.
Y'all gotta cut that out.
We won.
African Americans are free?
I'm not saying that we set the revolution. The reason we were the first independent free country.
Nobody give a fuck about y'all, bro.
Look at Quentin. Are you crazy?
No, but by paying
Britain. What?
I'm talking about we set the thing. We the one that said it. 1804, we the first free independent Caribbean country.
I'm not gonna go in depth with
Are you
that,
crazy?
but y'all have.
But what that got to do with America?
African Americans.
We said it, and then y'all followed.
Y'all said it for yourselves, not for
we
no
said
black
it, and then y'all followed.
And we set the stage for y'all immigrants to come over here and profit off of America.
And you're mad that we came to. Oh,
No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm telling you what black culture provided for you and your family.
How that provided for me and my family?
Because we set the standard. We set the
Who
standard.
came here? I didn't come here.
You
Your
here right
family
now.
did?
My family came here.
And you're here
And
now.
they made their money and they went right back to Haiti. So what's up?
So why you ain't go right back to Haiti?
Because why would I come back to Haiti? I'm Gucci where I'm at.
Where your parents live?
They're here.
What?
And they doing the flow.
How's that going
on
right
Labor
back
Day.
to Haiti? That ain't going right back to Haiti. They still
On Labor Day? They ain't been on Labor Day.
Okay, so that's the kind of arguing that we're seeing. That's the kind of arguments that we're seeing here. I want to go back to this though. So this brother here, host of Lee Soapbox, I don't know what this brother's name is. One of the saddest rebrands is Tariq Nasheed going from Hidden Colors to going at immigrant Africans more than he goes at racist whites. So he totally ignores what they said in the clip here. And then you go and you take a look. So he has a Haitian flag, and then he has Pan-African. And see, this is a failure. If he is, I don't know if he is or not. He says he is, so I'm going to take him at his word. He's Pan-African, right? This is part of the problem with those who claim to be Pan-African. So he totally ignores what they were saying, that black Americans don't have culture. Come on. And he just goes to scapegoat at Tariq. Of course, people got at him because it's all about arguing, and it's all a big argument. Before none of this is gonna stick. Before he was Hidden Colors, he was a pimp. None of that's gonna stick. When the pimp had to pay to bury some of the elders in the conscious community, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Dr. Ben, certain people he gave money to help bury them or help take care of them. Why is the pimp doing that, not brothers who are Pan-African? You know what I mean? So it's just all argument, and it's all arguing at this point. So I'm gonna keep there's a lot of stuff under Tariq's profile here. Let me see. Where is it at? There's something else that I could play here. And he doesn't want. Okay, so yeah, he's sharing a lot of stuff from immigrants. Let me see, where is it at? It's gonna be too far down. There was something else that I wanted to share on his is under here that I saw. And the level of petty is crazy. I don't know where it's at. Anyway. This guy. Here's that. Oh, this is that was okay. I'm not going to play that, but that was about the part of the arguments about who invented hip hop. I mean, does it really matter at this point when black people don't control it? Nobody black controls it. Hip hop is not controlled by black people. So what? Why argue about it? That's the thing that I really don't understand. Why argue about something that you ain't even controlling anyway? We're not benefiting the most from hip hop. I want to go to some other tweets here that I saw. And I saw this brother here, and he said this. He said, and by the way, the arguing is so crazy that Tariq trends almost every day. He's trending at some point of the day, almost every single day for the past 2 weeks, I believe. And he said some people trying to put the divide between Black Americans and the diaspora solely on Tariq. That tension was already there. Trying to pin that on one man is a cop-out. That beef's been around way before FBA was a thing. He's 100% correct. Then he said, this guy, same thing. I think I've seen him around. I've seen him talking about Pan-Africanism, but he said, there is no divide. There's divide between cult acronym members that worship and follow Tariq versus immigrants. They haven't met. Black Americans are the diaspora. The acronym groups. Then this guy says, those leaders of the groups are coons long to make money. Come on, man. You know I defend Black people. And then, he plays this clip here about what is this from? Bob Hart's Abishola. I don't think this is a play. Okay, hold on. Let me do this. I should have did it this way in the beginning. So you can hear this thing here. All right, here we go. So this is from a show called Bob Hart's Abishola.
Nigerian man, same tribe. Yoruba. Mm-hmm. Then Nigerian man, different tribe. Igbo. Mm-hmm. Then other Africans. Then Caribbean. Then white. Then African American. Mm-hmm. Then African American. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think this was her mom or her friend telling her that's Abishola right there with the bonnet or in the middle. And she's talking about the hierarchy of who she should marry. African Americans last after white men. She listed the different tribes or ethnicities in Nigerians and then other Africans.
Wait. So a Black man is last on your list? Below white men?
You get it.
I get that you full of crap. All you Africans think you better than us. Well, what?
You don't make it easy for yourselves.
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, come on. Gangbangers, welfare stamps, the baby mamas. Nigerian man.
You teach your son to speak with respect towards my son, who is a straight-A student, and there will be no more fighting.
That's not good enough. Her kid should be suspended.
And what grades does her Calvin get?
I don't see how that's important.
Well, one of these two boys is going to be a doctor, and I give you a clue. It is not your Calvin.
Okay, so that's it there. So then he comes back, he said, there are Black Americans that hate Blacks from other countries as well. At the end of the day, the acronym groups don't represent all Black Americans, and the Blacks in other countries that hate Black Americans don't represent all other Blacks. So, but he just said there was no divide. Now he had to backtrack because there's clearly a divide. Just admit it. This is what I don't get. Before you can fix a problem, you first got to acknowledge that there is a problem. You know what I mean? Like, it's silly at this point, like, stop this denial, stop this denial stuff. You know what I mean? It doesn't help. Acting like there's no problem is not going to solve the problem. All right, so let me go over here. Here again, here's another guy is saying the same thing. I think he might be from Africa. And it's just the man doing his best to ensure that Africans in the diaspora remain at each other's throats rather than forging the ties that bind. Sad. He's in Nigeria, so there's already been a divide. We've never been together. If we've been together, I would think at some point we would have made more inroads into ending white supremacy if there was not this fighting or this rift between Africans and the diaspora. No matter where they're at, there wouldn't be such a rift. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to keep going into this. I'm going to get to one last thing, and I'm happy to see this, Brother Omawali. I'm happy to see that this post from this brother. He stated that he posted a video about after Tariq Nasheed tweeted a video prompting violence against a Black immigrant. At this point, it's utterly hopeless to try to push back against his disinformation online, but just know that not everyone in Black America supports FBAism. You know what I mean? And I'm glad to see that he did that, because he was part of the arguing. I've seen him, federal Black agents and stuff like this, just some of the name calling back and forth. I've seen some of everybody take part of it. And, again, as Neely Fuller states, what you're doing is either constructive or non-constructive, and if my arguing with them is non-constructive, I'm just not going to do it. It just doesn't make any sense to continue to argue with people, and it just doesn't benefit at this point. You know what I mean? It's just more non-constructive or destructive than it is constructive to just argue back and forth. So just not get into it. That's the first thing, in terms of solutions. The first thing is just not engaging. You know what I mean? Like, why am I going to continue to argue back and forth? It's just not constructive. So just removing yourself from the fray. You know what I mean? Just removing yourself from the removing yourself from the the back and forth is the first part of the solution. Just we got to stop the arguments. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't help. That to me, that has to be the first part of the solution. And the second thing that I would do, and something that I had been working on before the pandemic, and now it's gotten sidetracked. To me, there's only 3 ways to effectively know a person. You either live with the person, you get intimate details of who a person is by living with them. You travel with the person. When you travel, because traveling is a hardship. This is why when you see friends go traveling together and then they come back, they're not friends, because, okay, now I had to travel with this person under these difficult conditions, and the real person came out, and I just didn't like who that person was. And then the third way is doing business with people. And we see that all the time, where friendships break up because they did business with each other. And, in order for us to learn who we are, we have to start engaging in some of this. Obviously, we're seeing some of this in terms of we just had to do it on a bigger scale. Those of us, or those who are marrying, someone from the Caribbean or someone from Africa. If you're Black American, you're marrying someone from somewhere in the diaspora, and you're building bonds of kinship, and you're building family ties. marrying into a group that's always, one way that to get to know people, because we have to start building these bonds and, start sharing our culture with each other and learning about each other, doing business with each other. And this is something that I was just was saying that I was something I was working on before the pandemic hit, in terms of, I have neighbors who are from Africa. One is from Ghana and the other one is from Nigeria. And then obviously, I'm Muslim. So then I have a lot of friends who are Nigerians from Sierra Leone, from Gambia, so I wanted to start, doing business with some of these brothers and traveling back to Africa with some of them in order to conduct business that will be beneficial to both us and them. Because right now there's a lot of brothers who are getting into the farming and gardening, but we don't have enough land in the United States that Black Americans own. We don't have enough land, and we don't have enough know-how in order to properly feed ourselves if anything ever happened, in terms of like how we're seeing, it's predicted to be food shortages coming. We don't have enough land to feed, probably 5 million people. We don't have enough land and enough know-how in order to do that, let alone the 40 million that's here or whatever. So where are we gonna where do we have to turn to? We have to turn to the Caribbean. We have to turn to Africa, in terms of, importing, food stuff from, our brothers and sisters throughout the diaspora. We have liquid, excuse me, we have money to spend. They have products that they often can't even sell, or sell at a decent price. For instance, how the United States totally decimated the rice industry in Haiti. What the United States was doing was, or they still are doing it, they will subsidize the rice farmers in the United States, and then they will subsidize the rice farmers in the United States. They will subsidize them, and they will subsidize the rice farmers in the United States, giving the rice farmers here money to farm, and then what they would do is buy the rice from the rice farmers here after giving them money to, get equipment and grow rice. And then what would they do? They would take it to Haiti and give it away for free. Now, what that does to the rice farmers in Haiti is totally put them out of business. So now that rice farmer in Haiti, he can't sell the rice, because if someone's coming and saying, here's free rice, who's going to buy rice when they can get free rice? So the United States totally undermined, and they don't just do Haiti that way. That's just one example. They do many countries that way, especially Haiti, because of Haiti's history. So Black people eat rice. Black Americans eat rice. So why are we not forging a way to import the rice from the rice farmers in Haiti? Because we have to buy rice, so we go right over to Publix and Walmart and buy rice. Well, we need to figure out how to get to buy the rice from the Haitian rice farmers. That way, they're making a living. And they can support their family. But then we are independent of, the Walmarts and whoever else that's producing rice and getting rice from, over in Asia, wherever they're getting rice from, in a lot of these grocery stores. We're getting the rice from it, it's a business relationship. And obviously you have to vet the people that you do business with. So that's why marrying into these different families, you can do that. But the real person comes out, because we're never going to survive sitting up here saying, okay, we're going to have a revolution and we can't feed ourselves. We still have to rely on Publix and again, we don't have enough land and we don't have enough know-how to grow produce or the food that we need on a large enough scale that we can feed the majority of us, in the United States. So we have to figure out how to do that. And that's one of the things that I wanted to do, to where we have enough places to sell it. We have churches, we have masjids, we have all these things right where Black people reside and congregate. So if it's like a farmers market, you're importing produce from throughout the world, because in Africa they're able to grow, in Haiti, Brazil, the Caribbean, you name it, wherever there's Black people, that's where we should be buying our food stuff. And including if we need to import meat as well. The goats, the chickens, the beef. So we have to do that, and building those relationships. As you start doing good business with people, you'll build that trust. So that's one way. Again, marrying into the family. You know what I mean? And then again, just the other biggest thing, along with the not arguing, is the victims guarantee qualification. They're just as much victims of white supremacy that we are. So, why am I going to get mad because they're coming here? I need to build bonds with those coming here. And I see this statement a lot from those pushing back against Pan-Africanness or Pan-Africanism, or why aren't you over in Africa? Why are you here in the United States or whatever? As if Pan-Africanism is only just going to Africa or whatever. But there is a point to that, because you as a Pan-Africanist, if it's Pan-Africanism or die, then here's a good example. I always thought Dr. Umar Johnson, I always thought that he should have been doing this while he's traveling and giving lectures and so forth. I always thought that it should have been a bigger push for him to forge those relationships. As you are there, it isn't just about going over to Africa and living. No, start pushing the building of the relationship between whatever country you're in, the Africans and the Black Americans, to say, hey, look, we have to start getting our brothers and sisters over here to do business, to do whatever, to start living, as a way to, if we ever have to escape America, then we have somewhere to go. But who's going to build those bonds? It absolutely, in my opinion, should be those who are Pan-Africanists. You know what I mean? That you are building those relationships, as opposed to it's here to because again, this is just what I've seen. It's, let's talk to Black Americans about Pan-Africanists and becoming Pan-Africanists, we're Africans and so forth and so on, and then no relationships are being built. I mean, and I'm not trying to put it all on them or anything like that, but that's just anybody. But that's just something that I don't even consider myself a Pan-Africanist, and I understand that just makes the most sense, that we can't feed ourselves. We have to build those relationships overseas. But who would be the best to do it? It would be brothers like, Dr. Umar, who are traveled and well known in those type of circles. Obviously, it would have been someone who was like Tariq or whatever as well, but that was just never his mission or goal or whatever. And fine, it doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna put it on somebody, something that I feel needs to be done. I'm just going to do it myself. I'm not going to say what this brother should or shouldn't be doing. I just use Dr. Umar as an example of it, because just preaching from here, United States, and it's like, okay, we've seen that it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. You know what I mean? Meaning the majority of Black Americans have never been under the Pan-Africanist banner or flag or whatever. So it hasn't worked in this amount of years. So are we going to keep doing the same thing? But anyway, those I'm not going to keep going. We're already almost 2 hours, so I do want to land this plane here at some point. I can go. I'm going to go further in detail in terms of some of the other live streams that I have. I just wanted to make sure I kind of covered some of these things that I'm seeing in terms of these diaspora wars. Most of the stuff that the Black people are arguing about is silly. Whether you're arguing over flags, if your government is so oppressive, then why are you flying the Nigerian flag? And then, but you come here to the United States and then complain about someone flying the American flag is kind of silly. Same thing with the Pan-Africanists who complain about Black Americans waving the American flag. Well, if you're not criticizing those immigrants to come over here and you know how oppressive this government is, then what's the point of complaining about them flag? Does it hurt you for them putting the flag in their profile? Like, I just don't understand. Like, does it hurt you? I mean, what does it do to you or for you if they do that? If the person is calling themselves an American Indian, if you can show me where calling yourself an African will help us end white supremacy better than them calling themselves an American Indian, so be it. Then okay, let's adopt that strategy. But you have to show people, well, if you call yourself African, then that will aid in us ending white supremacy. Then do that. If that's the case. If not, then what difference does it make? You know what I mean? Either you can work with the person or you can't. And I would think, if that's something that you don't agree on, then okay, fine. But if there's something that you agree on, work with them on that. But if there's nothing that you don't agree on, okay, cool. Who invented hip hop? Who's faster running, Sha'Carri Richardson or Jamaican? Oh my gosh. I mean, these are the silly things that people are arguing about. Juneteenth flags. Again, we're still like the slaves on the plantation celebrating, and you're on the plantation celebrating while you're enslaved. Well, we're still enslaved on the worldwide plantation. White supremacy is still here. So what are we really celebrating? Like, we take time to celebrate silliness, and we still got a white supremacy problem. I don't get it. But then argue over the celebration. Because they wanted the colors to be this. The colors have always been. Who cares? At the end of the day, you still got a white supremacy problem. I mean, I can go on about who has the culture, who has the best culture, who invented hip hop, who invented Afro beats. The level of silliness at this point. I mean, no one's mature. None of the sides are mature. The Africans, the Caribbeans, the Black Americans, the Pan-Africans on any side, none of them are mature. They're all like children arguing. You know what I mean? Because you're arguing something that at the end of the day makes little to no difference in what the ultimate goal should be. And it's totally non-constructive. None of it is constructive, But anyway, those are my final thoughts. I mean, it's just to kind of get that off my chest. Again, I'm not going to get on social media and argue back and forth. It's just a waste of time to argue about those things at this point when we have so much work to do. But those are my final thoughts. Peace, Rebel family.